I very nearly didn't film this because the inspiration is kind of worn thin, but I am a completionist sometimes, and I've got a free moment, so now I'm going to be wrapping up the last handful of books that I DNF'd in 2025. These last few months, I actually didn't drop very much. In fact, altogether it was only 6 books, and is he pulling up next to me? No, okay. It was only 6 books, 2 in September, 2 in October, and 2 in November. It is currently December 21st, and I have not dropped anything this month, and I don't think I will. But kind of rapidly, I'm going to go through these books because I don't have too much to say. Starting off in September, the first book that I DNF'd was It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over by Anne DeMarkin. I think Jack Edwards was the first person I saw talking about this book, and it sounded interesting enough. It was short, kind of lyrical, weird, but it's a literary zombie apocalypse story, and we're following our main character who has forgotten her name and a lot of aspects of her identity except for the lover that she had, who she's telling the story to. When I first started it, I really thought it was going to be a favorite of the year. It was something I started highlighting and tabbing, and I read the first little section, I think, in a night, and then I made a mistake and stopped because looking back at reviews I saw where some people were saying that it's something best read in one sitting, and I definitely get that vibe because once I stopped, I really couldn't get back into it. I'd kind of lost its charm, and I really wasn't getting much from it, so I dropped it. After that, I tried reading The Wishing Game by Meg Shaffer, which is a story following this woman who her goal at this point in her life is to reach financial stability so that she can adopt this boy. And she gets the opportunity to potentially do that when her favorite author sends out an invitation to come visit him on his personal island, where this woman and other fans of his will be competing in a game for this new manuscript that he has written. They can publish it, they can sell it, they can do whatever they want. And so our main character goes with the intent of trying to win the manuscript so that way she can get the money and be able to support this child. First off, this book, when I got it, it was a blind date with a book sort of situation, and it was mismarketed as being magical realism, which is an entirely different thing. I wish people would learn what magical realism is. That's the second book in the last couple of months that was pitched as being magical realism, and it wasn't. So that was a big hit right off the bat. But I took a chance on it. I wasn't super excited when I found out what the book was because I read Meg Shaffer's The Lost Story earlier this year and didn't really like it. But I thought I would give this a try, and yeah, I don't think she's an author for me. The writing was kind of basic. I don't want to say juvenile in a bad way, but it just didn't feel very sophisticated to me, and I really just didn't enjoy anything about the writing at all. But also the premise of this main character wanting to adopt this kid, while admirable, I don't think it was well done. In fact, there was a lot of uncomfortable, inappropriate conversation going on between them. She was telling him, "Oh, I'm going to be your mother. I'm going to adopt you one day." You can't do that. Yeah, it just didn't sit well with me. Can we make this any better without the phone falling? Oh God, no. It's not working. There's so much of the ceiling. There's so much of the roof. It doesn't need to be there. Whatever. After that, I DNF'd The Wild Hunt by Emma Seckel. I was so excited about this because it sounded like it was going to be the perfect book for October, which is when I DNF'd it. But it is set on this Scottish island shortly after World War II and is about these creatures. The slough. I don't... Find out pronunciation, please. They're these crow-like creatures that appear in threes, and they come to the island all throughout October and For the islanders, they're pretty normal, but since the war, their presence has gotten a lot more ominous. They often attack people, they'll kill livestock, and we're following a woman who is returning to the island after her father's passing, and not a whole lot really went down or compelled me to keep reading because, one, it wasn't quite as like supernatural horror-esque as I thought it was going to be. It ended up being more of like a mystery, which was fine, but the kid ends up killing one of these crow-like creatures and then goes missing. And so much of the book was spent looking for him without anything actually happening between the main female character and the other villagers. So there was nothing propelling me to finish it. Also, in October, I tried reading Tenderly I Am Devoured by Lyndall Clipstone. This is a young adult pseudo-fantasy, I don't know, about a young girl named Lacrimosa who has recently been expelled from boarding school and is returning home to her seaside town where, in order to bring in a prosperous salt harvest, because her family salt mine has run dry and they're now like on the brink of financial ruin, Lacrimosa agrees to marry this eldritch sea god, and something goes wrong during the wedding and she ends up being like semi-cast out of the physical realm because the god was during the wedding. And now she is trying to undo what happened and get things back on track. I was interested in this because it's, again, weird eldritch god thing, but also it's poly. And not only poly, but the two love interests are siblings. I was really curious about how that would work out. Do I want to see that in real life? No, thank you. But in fiction, it could work. It didn't here, but it could work in some other book. I didn't really like the structure of this book because a lot of it is set in the past leading up to how Lacrimosa was expelled from school. But those chapters, honestly, I don't know. I get why they were there because you're learning about not only Lacrimosa at school, but her friendship with these two siblings who she's known since she was a child. But I don't know, it felt kind of clunky to me, that structural choice. And the biggest reason like I decided to drop this is because I wasn't getting much characterization from anyone. None of the voices were really compelling, and as a result, none of the relationships were. Especially, and this is what really got to me. Like, you're pitching this as a poly relationship between a girl and these two siblings, male and female. And clearly the author favored the male love interest. Like, I think the sister was an afterthought, and I found that really disappointing. Moving into November, the next book on this list is Blood on Her Tongue by Joanna van Veen. I was really excited for this because it sounded like it was going to be vampiric, sapphic, gothic, all the icks. And yeah, it is all the icks because there were some really gross scenes that I did particularly enjoy. This takes place in the late 1800s and is following a woman whose sister is suffering from sort of a mental collapse. They don't exactly know what's wrong with her, and of course the men are saying it's just she's being hysteric. But our main character goes to take care of her and learns that her sister started experiencing all of these symptoms when a bog body was uncovered on the property. And it led to being obsessed with this bog body, and ultimately her sister begins acting in ways that are not normal. And it's up to our main character to figure out what's going on with her, while also navigating a society in which women acting outside the norm of the time are considered hysterics, are considered lunatics, and very easily can have their autonomy stripped away. Sounds good, right? And for a lot of readers, I think it's going to work because it's gross, it's unsettling, it is gothic, and honestly, I could have finished it. But the problem I ran into, one of the problems, was that anytime I stopped reading it, or in this case, listening to the audiobook, I did not think of the book at all. And I kind of like found myself reluctant to pick it back up. And I think this ultimately stems from what this story is. And that's a sort of like good for her, I support women's rights, but I support women's wrong sort of narrative, which I think there was a time and place for. I'm kind of burnt out on that narrative now, because in this case, the men in the story are just infuriating to be infuriating. They don't really have any character outside of being like these overbearing, misogynistic figures who limit the women. That's been done, as unfortunate as it is. That's still often the reality. But it's kind of like the only way to escape from that is to just kill the men. And I'm tired of that narrative. I don't think it works. It's not realistic. It can be fun, but that's where this was going, and I was just not interested in it. And then the final book of November and of 2025 that I DNF'd, and it might be the most disappointing for this section of the year, is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. I really, 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 really loved Migrations when I read it. I think it was last year, and thought I was going to love this as well. And honestly, I had a really good time with it. I had some critiques of certain choices, but I was firmly in the narrative. I was with the characters, as our main character, Rowan, is shipwrecked on this island that is serving as like a depository, I think is the word, for all of these seeds, in case there ever comes a time when, as a result of like climate change and flooding and fire, many of these plants are lost, so that way we can replant them in the future. She ends up on this island with the people who live there, and that's a man named Dominic and his 3 children who oversee the seed bank. And once she gets there, we follow both her and Dom as they're trying to figure out each other's secrets. He's wondering why she was coming to this island. She's wondering what he's not telling her, because it's only him and his children. Everybody else has left the island. There are no researchers. So I really liked aspects of this mystery, and I liked seeing Rowan connect with Dom and the kids, and how their relationship shifted as they began to open up to one another. Really liked that. And then with, I was in like the last fourth maybe, something happens that I felt was, it just upset me, honestly. Spoilers from here, very briefly. I don't like in a narrative when a woman's trauma is tied explicitly to assault. Specifically sexual assault. I don't like when that is the direction the author decides to go in, when it at times seems like it's there just for shock value. And this is where we were going. So that frustrated me. On top of which, the perpetrator is portrayed as the most like cartoonish villain. And getting to this section, specifically that first issue, immediately I lost all desire to finish it. I skimmed the rest, and I don't think I would have been happy with how it concluded had I read it all the way through. So yeah, I was really bummed out about that. This wasn't too bad for going almost completely off the cuff. Yeah, I might actually try to start filming more in the car. It's a little less hassle than trying to set up in front of bookshelves. I don't know if I will do this again in 2026, more than likely not. But it was fun to go over all these books that I tried to read and ultimately dropped for various reasons. And now I get to focus on what I am reading and what I want to do with this channel in the coming year. I've got a couple of videos that I would like to film planned, and looking forward to what's next on the docket, which is hopefully a TBR unhaul. But that will have to come a little bit later. But if you stuck around, if you watched any of these, thank you. And if you have different thoughts on these books, I would love to hear that. If you think any of them are worth giving a second chance, I probably won't read them. But I would be interested in your thoughts on them.